Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again in this YouTube astrological segment. I'm going to be talking about transit Venus, sextile, or trine one's natal Uranus. Now, when you have this transit, it could manifest in love, enjoyment, relationships, money, and values. That could be in harmony with your friendships at this time. Well, I'm going to elaborate on that. And when you have this transit, it can be about having really enjoying and loving your friends more so than usual. It can be a time when you value them. And the thing is, if you have, like, say, your natal Uranus and Capricorn, these could be friendships that are with older people that are business and career minded. If your natal Uranus is in Aquarius, say, it could be people that are future oriented. It could be astrologers or people that are into astronomy or computers or even innovators as some examples. And the thing about this too is that when you have this transit, these relationships, the relationships that you are in, whether they're significant friendships and or romantic connections, these people may be more in favor or more, more supportive of your goals and aspirations at this time. And going back to the natal Uranus and Capricorn as an example, those goals and aspirations can be connected. It could be with accounting or dentistry or information technology or just being successful in general. It can also be a time too where this is more about valuing your future, being able to see the importance in it and putting a little more emphasis on it as a result. I would say as well, it can be a time where you really have more value in your future, more so than usual. And the thing is, it can be, if your natal Uranus, say, is in Sagittarius, it could be the future for long distance traveling or doing something with publishing or higher education. As some examples, it's also about, it could be having the money to go after your goals and aspirations at this time. It could be whether it's college or whether it's trying to buy a new home for yourself. It could be just buying a vehicle, doing some or starting some business, whatever it might be. It could be more auspicious for having that money for that. It can be a time as well when you have this transit. What makes this transit very good as well, consider that Venus is connected with self-worth, self-esteem, and how you feel about yourself. And the fact that Uranus is about your freedom and independence. It's a time when you have this transit. If you've been in a situation where, say, you've been, say, where you feel your freedom has been inhibited somehow, and it could be a home situation where you don't, feel like you have you feel like you can't really do what you want to do without it being monitored or whatever it might be. It's a time to value your freedom and independence and being able to do something about it more. And it's a time where you may see that as more important and have more of a realization that this is something that does have significance. And the thing too is, anatomically speaking, okay, Uranus is connected with the ankles, the calves, the shins, nerves, and circulation. When you have this transit, if you have any of these issues that are anatomically connected with Uranus, this could be the time to actually do something about it monetarily. If you've been short on funds or you've been procrastinating, say, or hesitating on spending money on these issues that need to be taken care of, then this could be an opportune time to do something about it. And you can, let's say, even if you're somebody that's affluent and prosperous and you're well off monetarily, anytime you could do this anytime, regardless of the transit, of course, but you might feel more like spending money at this time in that event. Now, the thing about it is, when you have this transit as well, Uranus being connected with the unusual, the unorthodox, it could be a good time to do, if it's just simply doing things in an unorthodox manner, in a way, a lot of other people may not be doing it. Remember that when you do something, in an unconventional manner, it doesn't necessarily make it weird. It just means that you're doing something. It could be a lot of times you're just doing something in the way that is not perceived as generally conventional based on majority. It's like there was one time I can remember with a friend. I used the term friend loosely, that he didn't have the coil spring compressor for his vehicle, so he had to improvise, and he used like a hammer and screwdriver to do something with the coil spring. I don't know if he's putting it in or taking it out or whatever, but it's just it's a time where you could feel more like doing things in a unique or different manner, especially if you don't have the means to do these things in the conventional way. Uranus, this is also a time where your relationships, whether they may be again significant friendships or romantic connections, they may be more in favor of groups, clubs, and organizations you may be associated with. It could also be a time where you could form connections at these places if you haven't in recent time. If you're somebody, if you're like me, say you're a very introverted person, and you even if you were involved in the people out there that are involved in some group or what have you, and you still haven't really made many connections, this is a time where you have more of an opportunity to do so, given that Venus is connected with relationships and Uranus is associated with groups, clubs, and organizations. Now, the thing about this transit too is, Uranus is also connected with computers, so if there's any issue that you needed to resolve and it costed money, and you needed some virus, you ought to buy some virus protection as an example for your computer, and you didn't have the funds to do so, now is the time where you'd be more apt to have those funds to spend on those issues at this time. And another thing is that Uranus is also, of course, connected with things that are unpredictable, spontaneous, and shocking. It might be a time where you might value spontaneity more so than usual. It's a good time to see that and understand that not everything has to be premeditated and planned out. There are things called spontaneity, and the thing about this too is it's also a time where maybe relationships, if they are unpredictable, it's not something that's going to be um, to exasperate you. They may do something that might it might be a good surprise for you. Whether it's a birthday cake or whatever it might be. Maybe there's somebody surprises you and leaves you some money that you didn't expect to get. It could be about very good surprises from these people at this time. And the thing about this too is Uranus is also connected with selflessness and altruism. So it's a time where you can express that energy, whether it's with important friendships or romantic connections at this time. It can be a time as well. This is where you can value those things at this time more so than usual. It's also a time where when you have this transit, you can enjoy doing things for others that are selfless, that are acts of altruism. You may not expect anything in return. It's just about valuing this at this point in time. And Uranus is also associated with rebellion. This is a time if you're dealing with something rebellious in your life, and say if you have children, say if the natal Uranus is in the 5th house in your chart, and you're dealing with some children that are acting out, they're being rebellious. It's a time where showing the love toward these people can be beneficial, at least trying to contain that energy. that rebellion, because you're talking about a good aspect made between the transit of your Venus and your in the natal Uranus. It's a good relationship between the two planets, of course. So anyway, hold on a moment, people. Sorry about that, I'm back. But anyway, next thing I want to talk about now, another way this transit could manifest, it could be that relationships, which is Venus, may be in harmony with your goals and aspirations, and which is Uranus. Now, let's say, for example, if the natal Uranus is in Aquarius, those goals and aspirations can be associated with astronomy, aviation, astrology, as some examples. It also may be auspicious to receive money, which money, of course, is Venus, for your future, which is Uranus. Now, if your natal Uranus is in Capricorn in the ninth house, as an example, it could be doing something with accounting or dentistry or information technology, which is Capricorn, which could be a college course, which is the ninth house. And it's also a time where it could be very positive and auspicious for peaceful, which is Venus, interaction with friends, which is Uranus. If your natal Uranus is in Sagittarius in the third house, as an example, it could be with people that are sports-minded, religious, foreigners, which is Sagittarius, that are neighbors, which is the third house. It could also be a time where it's easy to love and enjoy, which is Venus, groups, which is Uranus. If the natal Uranus is in Scorpio, as an example, it could be groups associated with psychology, the occult, which includes astrology, recycling, as some examples. And it may also be more of a propitious time for artistic expression, which is Venus, and it could be in groups, clubs, or organizations, which is Uranus. If the transit Venus, say, is in Gemini, it could be art that's animated or cartoon oriented. It might be, let's say, if the transit Venus is in Capricorn, it could be political art, maybe political satire or something, anything connected with the government or politics, as some examples. Anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment. Until next time, Edwin Learnard saying stay well.